Hi guys, welcome to this week's issue of my Warhammer Conquest review series. This week I'm reviewing issue number 43, as you can see, in which we get the thermic plasma regulators, which are some fairly hefty bits of kit, as you can see on the back here. Just going to open up the plastic. Crackle, crackle, crackle. Comes in two sprues, exactly the same, just mirroring each other, so I've broken those in two. Yep, each sprue contains one half. You can see you've got the... oh, sorry. Yeah, each sprue contains a half that fits together by the looks of it. Those halves look the same. I'm not sure exactly how... Yep, this sprue contains one half, this sprue contains the other half. You can tell because there's a lip that sticks out in there, and there's a lip that goes in there. So on one half you'll have either a vent or it'll be bolted shut, and on the other half you'll have the trusty Mechanicum Cyber Skull symbol of the Adeptus Mechanicus. These go together to form these little puppies on the front there, which is going to be a nice big platform, which is going to give you some high level scenery, so you can stand your soldiers on it and shoot down, which is the first part of 3 dimensions. It's the first piece of 2-tier scenery we've got. The rest of the stuff so far has been base level, so this is going to let you get stuff up higher. It's, once again, we can see that it's reasonably thick, not as thick as some of the other stuff. There is, as you can see, if you can see that, a little bit of give to it, but when stuck together it's going to be very, very solid. It doesn't fully seal. Looking at the bottoms, they're not going to close completely, but then again it's always going to be standing face down, so that's not really a problem. Yeah, the bit that sticks out is the same bit that this stacks on, so as you can see it's going to stand fairly solidly with your models pushing down on something. But there's a nice big chunk of space here that you could put something in, like a lump of milliput or some clay, or just glue some coins or something weighted to hold it down if you wanted a little bit more stability. It is going to be plastic. This is fairly light. It jumps around, so I can see it being knocked fairly easily if you're not careful. So you might want to stick something in the bottom of there, or just, you know, seal the bottom up with some plastic, with some rubber, or with a rubberized sheet or something, just to make sure it sticks. But you've got plenty of options there. Okay, let's get into the issue. Nice pretty blue front there to get the same color as plasma, which we've decided is blue. Anybody wondering what plasma is? It's a superheated ionized gas. It's what you get on the surface of the sun. Basically, plasmas and melter guns work very similarly. They shoot mini bits of sun at you. I think with a melter gun it just sprays out, whereas a plasma gun, it accelerates it using some sort of magna coil to create a greater range, but not quite as hot. They seem to work similarly. Okay, in this one we've got Ian, our spiritual liege, on the front, and then straight into Blood Angel Successors. I'm really enjoying the way that these are going through all the Marines. There's a lot of information, a lot of background to be gone. We've probably been through this already, but every chapter has successor chapters. After the heresy, Guilliman basically said, look, we can't have people being able to form huge, great legions of doom because they turned against us. We thought we could trust Primarchs? Yeah, the Primarchs. And nobody out there is as badass or as trustworthy as them. So if they betrayed us, anybody could. And what they then did is they then split up all the remaining legions into smaller chapters. You had the Genesis founding, which was the first founding in which things like the Black Templars and the Crimson Fists were created. And then you had subsequent, after that there have been many subsequent foundings In some cases, you might get just a random chapter created because a chapter's gotten so big that it needs to be split in two, and so one chapter continues on with whatever the old chapter name was, and another one becomes a new chapter. In other cases, they've had wars and they basically needed to recoup their numbers, so they told every chapter to expand and make more numbers. Or they've been planning wars and they needed more numbers, so they've told every chapter to expand, and then they've used those numbers to fulfill, to create new chapters and make new Marines. Chapters are created and lost pretty much all the time in 40k. Each chapter consists of 1,000 Marines, and despite the fact that Marines are badasses, you can lose an entire chapter in one ship strike. Yeah, if one ship has the majority of a chapter on board and that ship gets blown up, then that chapter is gone. In some cases, a few members of that chapter might survive, and the chapter might be rebuilt if there's enough. In other cases, there's not enough to keep the chapter going. So rather than try and drag troops out from other places, they just fold those remaining Marines into another chapter. In other cases, for example, the Shadow Walls, the entire chapter literally gets wiped out to a man. There's an Aaron Dembski Bowden novel which has the Shadow Walls in it. Or rather, it has it has a Black Templar in it, and he describes the Shadow Walls, who are an Imperial Fist successor, and they're a chapter that I painted and have played a couple of times, getting wiped out to a man in what he calls like and what he describes as this beautiful, glorious death. They're just getting destroyed by wave after wave of tyrannies until it's literally the last bloke standing. The Templars are pulling back off the world because they need to save their resources, but the Shadow Walls are like, we're fucked, so we're going to go down like bosses. And chapters die like that. They hit Tyranid swarms, they get wiped out by wargs, and new chapters get created to take their place. The majority of chapters actually come from the Ultramarines simply because it has one of the most stable genetic lineages. We may well see a lot of difference now that we've got the Primaris Marines out. But every chapter has had successors, with one exception, the Space Wolves, who have never, until the Primaris, had a successor chapter, because the one time they tried, they split the reason the Space Wolf chapter isn't still a legion, in fact, is because they split their legion in half, and the half that they sent away, the Wolf Brothers, mutated and died out. There was something about being away from Fenris which meant they could not survive permanently. No one's really adequately explained it. It's one of those things that's left in the fluff for people to argue about. Now the Space Wolves have a chapter which are the Wolfspear, who are a similar dark grey, but their legs and their shoulders are supposedly an even darker grey, and their chest pieces are lighter grey. This has been described once, so that's not 100% confirmed canon on the covers, but because of the Primaris, there is now a single Space Wolf successor chapter, which is really cool. Blood Angels, having mutation problems, haven't had as many successor chapters as others. They have the Red Rage, which is a problem that befalls them, a blood curse or a mutation. No one's quite sure. Some say it's the reverberation of the psychic death of Sanguinius, their Primarch, or Sanguinius, not sure how to pronounce it. Others say it was always a problem with the Blood Angels. It just didn't come to the fore because their Primarch managed to keep it hidden or managed to keep it under control. But even so, they're an incredibly successful Marine chapter. They're one of the founding chapters. Therefore, they will have successor chapters, because even if nothing else, they were a legion, and that legion needed to be broken up when the codexes came around. So we've got several chapters, all variations on a theme. Most chapters are variations on a theme. As I said, Space Wolves are grey. The Wolf Spears are light grey chest, dark grey arms and legs. Some go completely off on the deep end and look nothing like their parent chapters, but most chapters are similar. You can see Blood Angels who are red and black, but the Angels, Encremine, who are black shoulder pads, who are deeper red, black shoulder pads, black trim, black backpacks. You've got the Angels Sanguine, who are half black, half red. The Flesh Tearers, who are black shoulder pads, again, much deeper, rustier red, and black backpack and helms. And you've got the Carmine blades, who are black and silver with a different, with a skull pattern, white helms and stuff like that. Some of them are very similar. It can be difficult to tell related chapters apart, but that really is because every successor chapter kind of honors its primogenitor. We've got some good descriptions here. The Angels Anchormen few Space Marine chapters are as active as the Angels Anchormen. They're constantly campaigned, therefore their ranks are fairly full. What they lack in numbers, they make up, however, in ferocity. That's pretty cool. They have won the praises of planetary governors and other chapter masters alike. The Flesh Terrors, blood rage is infamous, as are the savage deeds they are said to perform. They are so feared even by their allies that most Imperial commanders will only accept their help in the direst of circumstances. The Inquisition eyes the chapter with suspicion. Often when you get, this is something that you commonly see, often when you get different successor chapters, they'll reflect a more extreme variant of their original chapter. The Angels Anchormen apparently very peaceful, very good, not very peaceful, very ferocious, but very well liked. They do things right and they're accepted. The Flesh Terrors, people are scared the shit out of them because they're space vampires that'll rip your face off. Both aspects of the Blood Angel taken to a bit more extreme. The Angels Sanguine have a long and glorious history. They are particularly well known. There are many victories against the horrors emerging from the Eye of the Terror. And the chapter, originally known as the Swords of Haldroth, was only recognised as a Blood Angel successor chapter in late M41. Renamed the Carmine Blades, they reluctantly accepted the Blood Angel's traditions. Despite being known for their barbaric practices, they proved resilient and resourceful. There you've got two more examples, not really of aspects of the success chapters, but of weird and different things. For example, instead of being an aspect of their chapter, the Angels Sanguine have a very specific job. They're demon killers. They hunt and destroy things, and Space Marine killers. They fight chaos. That's what their chapter's about. The Carmine Blades are not a Blood Angel chapter, so that's a bit weird. I'd actually like to read a lot more about those guys and find out some more stuff about them. On the next page, we've got some, as I said, some cool examples here. More stuff that looks very much like the successor chapter, and then one that looks completely different. You've got the Angels Vermilion, Knights of the Chalice, the Blood Drinkers, and the Lamenters. Let's have a look. Alone amongst Blood Angel successors, the Angels Vermilion shun all contact with their brother chapters. They bear their curse in isolation, and their battle records are shrouded in history. Again, they're taking on an aspect of their main chapter of the Blood Angels, and the Blood Angels are very ashamed of the Black Rage, and it's something they try and sort of keep hidden from others. They've taken this to the ultimate exception. We go to the Lamenters. The history of the Lamenters is tragic indeed. They have twice been brought to the brink of destruction, first during the Badab War, and later in battle with the Tyranids. Each time they've endured, despite issues with their gene seed, they believe these hardships have made them stronger. So here's it doesn't really say much about the Lamenters and what they are, but it really just says they've been destroyed and they've suffered a lot. So they're really about enduring bad things. So again, there's cool stuff going on there. Yet another one, you've got the Knights of the Chalice. The Knights of the Chalice are a purely Primaris chapter. We're seeing a lot of those with the Ultima Founding, so that's pretty cool. First deployed during the Indominus Crusade, they are renowned for their use of orbital strikes. They use large numbers of inceptors. My phone went ping then. Inceptors, coupled with Reaver assaults to plunge the enemy into confusion. Again, that chapter you can see it's not about its kind of feeling or its history. It's about the tactics it uses. So you can see the three kind of things they tend to use to build a chapter, and you can see how it might inspire you to build a chapter. You might say, I'm going to take this aspect of the Blood Angels that I like and just expand on it. You might say, okay, the Blood Angels perform this tactic well, so I'm going to build an army or a chapter purely around using this tactic, and that's going to be my thing. Or you can sit there and you think, okay, I've got this cool story or idea. I think it would suit a Blood Angel successor chapter, and I can run it through this story and idea and still have it be an adaptable chapter or something like that. So there are really loads of ways of playing chapters. There are loads of different chapters you can use from the canon. There are literally hundreds. You can look them up on the internet. The Warhammer wiki is great for it. Or you can make your own chapter up and base it on anything you want and use it. You can use everything available to the Blood Angels or the Space Wolves or the Ultramarines, or you can focus on a very specific tactic that you really like playing and that you really find success with, and base an entire chapter around that piece of lore or that piece of tactics or that piece of history or just that feeling. Whatever you want. Next up, we've got Beasts of Nurgle. They may look like great unclean ones, but they're not. They're kind of savage, slathering puppy dogs. The Beasts of Nurgle are slow-witted creatures that embody Grandfather Nurgle's boundless joy. They seem not to attack the enemy, but to play with them. Unfortunately, their affection is often lethal. They're basically disease-ridden puppy dogs that'll accidentally rip your arm off and spray you with foul pestilence and bugs. They're huge, slug-like abominations. Their vast weight is capable of crushing a man beneath them like an empty ration tin. Worse, their flesh drips with pus and poison. They're a troop available in demonic armies. They're very nasty. Like most cavalry troops, they're actually quite fast. Not as fast as others. Obviously, they're Nurgle, and Nurgle is more about the slow and plod. But they're a very terrifying puppy dog. If you're playing a Nurgle thing, having a couple of Beasts of Nurgle as your adorable pets, or as the adorable pets of your general, or as your adorable pets if you're playing any one of the RPGs, is totally a cool thing you can do. Armies of the Imperiums, the next section. We've got that. Oh, did I show you the picture of the Beast of Nurgle? Yeah, Beast of Nurgle. There you go. Big army puppy dogs. Next, the armies of the Imperium. Imperium mankind was founded by force of arms, and it's only thanks to its military might the Empire has maintained. The Empire has been maintained. It runs through the basic, several of the basic armies. You've got the Adeptus Asstratus, who are the Space Marines, who we love. The Astra Militarium, who are basically the Imperial Guard, grunts down in the ditches. If you want to play mass tank battles, or if you want to play mile upon mile of World War I style trenches, they're very much the army for you. If you want to play sort of the whole sort of Russian, throw hundreds of soldiers at it until it runs out of bullets again, they're the Imperial army for you. If you want to do it from Xenos, there are Tyranids and other armies that do that. You've got the Adeptus Mechanicus, who are basically techno wizards and cyborgs. So if you want to play wacky stuff and weird looking stuff, they're really for you. If you want to play stuff that has a lot of really cool rules, they're really good. A lot of their stuff will utterly annihilate things in turn one and then be useless for the rest of the game, or be really cool for a bit and then not work because it's so wacky. And you don't get a lot of bang for your buck, which is also a great way of saving money if you don't have to build a lot of models. So they're pretty cool. And then you've got the Grey Knights, who are the ultimate elite of the elite of the elite of the elite. If Space Marines are the elite soldiers of mankind, Grey Knights are the elite soldiers of Space Marines. They are purely purposed for one task, which is killing demons. They will fight Chaos Warriors, and they'll fight any enemy of the Imperium if they have to. But their sole job is to run around the Imperium, stopping demons being summoned, killing Chaos Cultists and killing demons. They're all psychers, they're all singing or dancing and have the best weaponry. They have the best stuff. How they're going to be affected by Primaris, no one has seen yet, but to my knowledge, there are no Primaris Grey Knights, as the Grey Knights are taken from a very specific set of gene seed. The story has it that the Death Guard, the Sons of Horus, the Thousand Sons, the Sons of Horus, the Emperor's Children, and the rest of the traitor legions that didn't turn, that when faced with their brothers turning, when washed over with chaos, went fuck you, we're loyal, were what was used to create the original Grey Knights. It's from their gene seed. So, Grey Knights are actually fighting out there with either pure or a combination of, it doesn't specifically say Death Guard gene seed and Word Eater gene seed and Word Bearer gene seed and all stuff like that. But they're the ones that have proven not to fall. And supposedly never in the history of the Grey Knights has any Grey Knight ever fallen to chaos. They've all died first. One of the reasons for that is that Grey Knights get their minds wiped regularly. So, you know, there's not enough room for a personality to take place. If you want to know more about the Grey Knights, if you want to get a real feeling of how brutal and gritty they are, there's a Grey Knight omnibus, a bunch of stories written by a guy called Ben Counter, who he's one of my favourite authors. I totally recommend you check him out. He's done some good stuff. He's done some stuff that's all right. He really he takes the lore into consideration when he writes things, and I really have enjoyed his work. That, and he's, you know, an awesome painter, and he hangs around the same game shop that I hang around, so I've met him, which fan fab. He is a handsome and beautiful man. If you're watching this, Ben, keep it up. If you're watching this Games Workshop, get Ben to write more stuff. Really good. I'll pay money to read it. Anyway. Yeah, you got a nice picture there, which gives you the combined armies of the Imperium. You've got Imperial Guard there next to Dark Angels, next to all kinds of wacky stuff, and against some nice bat-winged children of the Night Lords and things like that. That's pretty cool. Here we've got something which I've been waiting to read more about. Hope Rekindled, which is a short story about, not even a short story, a short description about Robert Gilliman, Robute Gilliman. And him returning. You've got, behind him, you've got Cypher, who's a Dark Angel, who's technically a fallen angel, but he kind of more sauntered downwards by hanging out with the wrong crowd. Cypher's always been a bit of an enigma. Some people say, you know, some people consider him a fallen angel, but others think that he's actually a loyal Dark Angel. He was just on Caliban when it fell, and he's been trying to work and maneuver things to get stuff back and good again somehow. Supposedly that sword on his back is the broken sword of Lionel Johnson, and at one point he's going to give it back to the Lion, and the Lion's going to rise forth and be one of the next Primarchs. I'm hoping for Russ. Dark Angels players are hoping for the Lion. I'm kind of thinking that because you've got a bit of the Lion's backstory there, you'll get the Lion, but I really don't know. I really would like to see the next Primarch come back. I don't want it just to be Robute Gilliman. I want my Primarch. I want Russ back eventually. I want to be able to fight the end times, or be able to fight the eternal battle, whatever GW you want, but with a Primarch that isn't Gilliman. Not because I don't like Gilliman, he's fantastic. There are no bad Primarchs. There are Primarchs you might not like, but there are no bad ones. He's awesome. And on the other side of him, we've got one of the Chief Grey Knights, whose name I cannot remember. Where are we? Besides Crawl, no, it doesn't mention his name here. He has a name. He's an important badass in a Grey Knight, and he looks really cool. It also goes on to give some details about Cadia. Cadia doesn't exist in the current iteration. The Cadian Gate used to guard one of the few safe passageways past the Eye of Terror. The Eye of Terror is now expanded to be the Great Rift, and the Cadian Gate's been destroyed. It turns out that one of the things stopping the Eye of Terror expanding was the Cadian Gate, because it was covered in Necron tech, and Necrons, being purely of this world, are able to really push back warp energy, because they're not affected by it. You know, it washes over them harmlessly. So they built massive red pylons just to shut down this Eye of Terror because it was in their way, or something like that. Supposedly it was something like that. Either that, or they left them behind in the hope, you know, to counteract the Eldar or something like that. It goes through the defense of Cadia, who was there, the forces of chaos, and all the cool stuff. So you can see how cool it was. Next. How to build your thermic plasma reactors. Clipper and glue safety, because heaven forbid you lose an arm. This is incredibly simple. So simple I might do a video on it, because you know how I like to do simple videos. You stick the two bits together and you stick the bits to those two bits. That's pretty cool. And then it's got a bit about painting it. First it recommends you paint it silver, which I may or may not do. Then it recommends you wash over it, which is cool. Do some other painting some details and all cool stuff that we've all done before with these, just on a larger scale. And then, then basically you're done. And that looks pretty cool. A bit of advice on painting it. You might not want to be as splodgy and haphazard as you have been with the smaller models, because there are a lot of bigger, flatter surfaces. So you might want to just try and get a smoother coat when painting those larger surfaces. It doesn't show up quite so badly on smaller surfaces, and you can get away with being a bit more messy. Although you don't want to be too messy. Particularly if you're dry brushing over it, you can get away with being messy, because a dry brush will bring it back in. With the bigger surfaces, you might be dry brushing, you might not. But going for a smoother finish might give you a smoother finish, which is really cool. It doesn't explain to you how to do that bit, but if you go on the internet, there are plenty of bits explaining how to do that bit. You can do it as an airbrush effect, but it is also fairly easy to do as a dry brush effect. You paint it blue, you dry brush up and down, and then you carefully dry brush and then highlight the white bits. Again, there are plenty of videos on how to do that on the internet. If I get time, I might do it myself, but really at the moment I'm working my arse off. It then runs through the rules, how many people you can fit, things like that. It shows you where the ladders are, and those are the points that you come up and down, and cool stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. It's nice to know how the scenery actually works. It also gives you the rules on hazardous cover. Roll a d6 every time you make a saving throw of 7+. Usually roll a d6 +1 for being in cover. For every model within 3 of any terrain feature with this ability or shooting phase, on rolling a 1, the model suffers a mortal wound. So that's pretty cool. So that's our first piece of hazardous terrain. We then got the mission, which is Power Surge. You can see you've got your map there. You're going to use these model bits on your map, and you've got your death card entry from 1 point, which is cool, and your Space Marine deployment there. So that's pretty cool. This mission uses both of your mats as a battlefield, so you can see you actually connecting them up there, which is the first time I think we've done this, but it gives you a much bigger playing surface, being as you're playing with much more complete armies now. It gives you the armies: Lord Theltheus, Tainted Cohort, Chaos Rhino, 5 Plague Marines and Foul Blightspawn, Primaris Chaplain, 5 Intercessors, 3 Aggressors, 3 Hellblasters and 2 Inceptors. So you're using a lot of the stuff already, and you're not getting to the massive armies that you'll be finding in the New Apocalypse stuff, which is coming out. But you are getting closer to full-size 40k armies, which is pretty fucking cool. Okay, next week we've got the Leadbelcher refill, Learn to Dry Brush, which hopefully they're going to show you a way of doing some of the effects on this. They might not, I don't know what their particular plan is. And Necron Compound. Necron Compound is a dry brush. It's fairly cool. You can get some really nice, shiny and awesome effects. Then the Neophytes arrive. Space Marine Scouts. Little weird with Space Marine Scouts, because these are basically not fully grown Space Marines. These are young Space Marines who have still got their implants in. Or if you're a Space Wolf, they're old raggedy Space Marines who are kind of loners. But they just got their implants in. They're still growing. They're not fully strong. They're not fully powered. So they're weaker than normal Space Marines. But the Neophytes are they're trainee Space Marines for normal Space Marines, whereas everything we've got so far has been Primaris. These guys don't actually, to my knowledge, they're not going to grow into Primaris. They're going to grow into box standard Space Marines, so they're the only non-Primaris thing in the army. That being said, you're going to get a whole squad to add to your stuff, so that's 5 new models, and that's pretty cool. They're slightly older models, as you can see by their more static looking poses, but they're plastic, so they're easily convertible. You'll be able to swap bits around. So that's pretty cool. And again, it is a whole squad. It is the only non-Primaris thing I think we're going to get for this set. Maybe Primaris still has Space Marine Scouts. Maybe Space Marine Scouts grow up into being Primaris as well as normal Marines. I don't know. Hopefully they'll explain that. But on that copy, you're going to get Space Marine Scouts, Scout War Gear, and choosing unit weapons in-game as your thing. So that's something to look forward to in 2 weeks. I don't want to sound like I'm slagging off Space Marine Scouts. They're really good. I use Space Marine Scouts alongside my Primaris because they're the right scale, and because they do some things that Primaris don't. They work very well in tangent with the infiltrators. The other reason I use them is in the background for Space Wolf Reavers. It actually specifically states that despite the fact their tactics are different, the fact that the Reavers are often out there by themselves and complete nutters, and the Scouts are out there by themselves and complete nutters, has meant that the two parts of the Primaris and the standard Space Marines that have got together the best in Space Wolves is the Reavers and the Scouts. You know, whilst Space Wolves and Space Wolf Primaris are sort of learning to trust each other and learning how to work together, the Reavers and the Scouts have been seen off in the distance, pissing themselves, laughing at each other's jokes. These guys have always been grim and dour, and yet when they meet up, they're laughing their asses off and joking about with each other, and then heading off into the distance, into the night, murdering people, and then coming back and enjoying it. Enjoying each other's company in a way that isn't actually seen in any of the other chapters. With the rest of the other chapters, like, ooh, these guys, ooh, that guys, and even the Space Marines, like, we like you, but and whereas with the Reavers and the Space Wolf Scouts, they get along like a house on fire. Like, they get along like long lost brothers. It's one of my favourite bits of the Primaris lore. The fact that these guys, one set of guys who are silent death and the other set of guys who are terror from the night, just crack each other up. It's amazing. It's just my favourite bit of the lore, to be honest. So yeah, you will like these. If you're a Space Marine player, you will like these Scouts. If you're a Space Marine player, you will enjoy using them, and they will provide a very useful part of your army. Right, I'm just going to pause it temporarily while I get the names of last week's competition winner. Right, guys, last week I got this, which is 40 quid's worth of tank. Now, if your name's Reese Hackney, congratulations, Reese, or Rhys, possibly. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, mate. You've won 40 quid of the tank. I'm going to PM you in the previous comment section to the previous video, or send me your address to the wargamerdad.co.uk email address. No, wargamerdaduk@gmail.com. Fuck's sake. I don't even remember my address. I'm sorry. Hot day, playing games, having fun. Brain melted. wargamerdaduk@gmail.com. And this will wing its way to you. Worth noting, the last two competitions remained unclaimed. So if you're out there, guys, check your PMs for the previous things. You know who you are. No, that's not true. One of them remains unclaimed. The other guy is going to get sent to you shortly, but please, guys, check your PMs, because I do PM you guys if you've won something. And if you haven't sent me an email address already, send me an email address, and the stuff will be winging its way towards you soon. Okay. I can't even remember which one of them isn't unclaimed yet. But one of them is unclaimed. So if you've left quotes on any of the previous videos, check to make sure that you haven't won a prize, guys. Okay, I will see you next week when we will be looking at paints. Have a nice week, guys. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.